Thank you. It is. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, we're about to get started. If we can find our seats, silence our cell phones as I'm doing, greatly appreciate it. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Monday, the 28th day of October in the year 2024. This is a City Council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing exactly 4 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley is not here. Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Soy. Councilperson Solomon is not here yet. Either is Councilperson Gilmore, Councilperson DeGise.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera is not here, and Council President Waterman.
Here.
Okay. We have 5 council members in attendance at 4 p.m. On behalf of Council President Waterman and the members of the Municipal Council, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall. The annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2024, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, November 30th, 2023. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, October 25th, 2024 at 5:12 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website so I can certify as to total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good afternoon. Our first director, Director Shea.
Oh, good.
Good evening, Council President, council members. The Department of Public Safety has one resolution for your consideration this week. It's Resolution 10.7, Agenda Number 10.7, Resolution 24-784. It's a resolution authorizing an award of a contract to Tomahawk Strategic Solutions for tactical training for ESU sustainment and continuing education for Jersey City police officers. It's under the New Jersey State Contract for Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. It's in the amount of $45,000. This is our twice-a-year continuing training for our emergency service. And I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the council for its support. We just went through our inspections and evaluations from the prosecutor's office on behalf of the Attorney General, and the Jersey City Emergency Service Unit was one of 2 in Hudson County that are approved to continue acting as a tactical unit because of all of your support. So thank you.
Question.
Yeah, I have a load of questions. Oh, no. First of all, let me ask you something. Where is Tomahawk from? Where is Tomahawk from?
Is there a home base?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the home office is in Tennessee.
it's in Jersey City. All right. Director, I'm glad you're here.
He wants to just ask you another question off.
I have a load of
It
questions.
says, well, you can ask that he can't give you all the answers at this time.
Well, what's going on with traffic enforcement? We used to have meetings and it stopped. Remember, we used to meet in the mayor's office about it? Hundreds of calls and emails, no traffic enforcement. People are tired of it because the streets are a mess with the traffic. What's going on?
Question.
All right. The radio room, extremely on demand. Okay? Parking authority, extremely on demand. They come down my block, they have no ticket givers. Half the people, well, not even working on Sundays. Then the crossing guards complaining. You have the fire department also. People I speak to are less, there's less tickets than ever being given out for traffic and violation. Give you an example. The other day in my house, there were 7 cars parked on the block. Parking authority comes along, no ticket givers, no tickets issued. This goes on all the time. At the captain's meetings, people came to me. They're tired of calling 911 and get no response to noise complaints. It seems like people blasting music at night. I just had to call the captain the other night to have somebody go over to issue summonses to somebody blasting music And they call the police and nobody responds. But the captain took care of it. Holidays coming up, robberies on Newark Avenue, packages being stolen. Packages are being stolen all over. I have the Ring, and all my phone goes off all day long about packages being stolen. And it seems like nobody's doing anything about it, especially the police department. I need a written strategy on what I have brought up tonight that we can hold public safety accountable for. Because, listen, I worked for the police department for 36 years, and I'm tired of what's going on. All right? We have lack of manpower in all these departments, and all these departments are under you and Moody, and something has to change.
Thank you, Director. So
Thank you.
let's
Thank
get
you,
back
Council
down to
President. Thank you,
traffic.
council members.
Was no answer.
Director Kears.
And before Director Kears goes, I just want to mark Councilperson Ridley present at 4:03 PM and Councilperson Rivera present at 4:04 PM. We now have 7 council members present. Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Warder and members of the council. I have 3 resolutions before you today. First is item 10-6, Resolution 24-783. Resolution will authorize the acceptance of a grant from the United States Department of Homeland Security and the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness to the FFY 2024 Urban Area Security Initiative in the amount of $1,659,000 to build and sustain national preparedness capabilities.
Questions?
Next is item 1020, Resolution 24-797. Resolution will authorize a shared services agreement with the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency to provide gasoline and diesel fuel service vehicles. The JCRA agrees to pay the city the cost associated with fuel used plus a 5% administrative fee.
Questions?
And the last is 1021, Resolution 24-798. Resolution will authorize the award of an open-ended contract to Lytle Enterprises of Ohio through the competitive public bid to provide sign-making materials to the DPW sign shop. Total amount of this contract is $108,716, and the money is available in the DPW operating account.
Questions? Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Maynard? Keep the meeting with him on moving.
It's probably one of the best ringtones I heard all day.
Good afternoon, Council President, council members. I have 2 items for you consideration today. First is agenda number 10.9, resolution 24-786. It's a resolution of the City of Jersey City imposing a moratorium on accepting applications for Class 5 cannabis retail license and issuing local support recommendations. It's extending the current moratorium through January 31st of 2025.
Any questions?
Second, I have agenda number 4.3. It's a second reading ordinance of 24-090. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 84, Alcoholic Beverages and Cannabis, Article 1, Plenary Retail Consumption and Distribution Licenses. This is just adding the new category of liquor licenses for nonprofit theaters. Thank you.
Amanda and Jen?
Good evening, Council President. I have 2 resolutions on the agenda for today. The first resolution is 24-792, 1015. The resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the EPA Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grants Program. Jersey City is seeking to ensure the environmental, economic, and social objectives that are balanced in the municipal supportive. We are applying for this grant in the effort to prolong and invest in environmental and climate justice activities to benefit disadvantaged communities through projects that reduce pollution, increase community and climate resilience, and build community capacity to address environmental and climate justice challenges.
Questions?
The second resolution today is 24-793, agenda number 1016. This is a resolution accepting the grant award and authorizing the execution of the US EPA Environmental Justice Government to Government Program. This grant is from the EPA for planting trees within the Jackson Hill Main Street SID neighborhoods, including Martin Luther King Boulevard, and it also is for youth education programs with our partner Team Wilderness. Thank you.
Before Jennifer goes, Council President, I'd just like to mark Councilperson Solomon present at 4:09 PM. So we now have 8 council members present. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Council President. Traffic Engineering has 2 resolutions today. The first is item 1018, Resolution 24-795. This is for designating a loading zone along Orchard Street in front of 7-Eleven Montgomery Street, and it will be in effect Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Questions?
The next one is item 1019, Resolution 24-796. This is to relocate the existing bus stop on Montgomery at the corner of Bergen. This is the eastbound bus stop, and we're just moving it to its new location where it's already striped out. The bus stop has been stopping there for the last couple of years. Thank you.
On?
Council President, just wanted to mark Councilperson Gilmore present at 4:11 PM. So we now have all 9 council members in attendance.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm here for item 10-4, Resolution 24-781, and this is to accept the best practices questionnaire for 2024. Local Government Services sends this out every year. This year there were 69 questions, 17 unscored, 41 core competencies, which are worth 1 point, and 11 best practices worth a half point each. We scored 40.5 points. We're required to score 35 in order to get our last 5% state aid payment.
Questions? Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Jimmy?
Good afternoon, Council. I'm here for item 10.10, Resolution 24-787. It's a resolution ratifying the extension of a professional services contract with Sherwood, Scargiolo, and Twinborough PT Associates on a month-to-month basis until a new contract is awarded for the Division of Risk Management. And it's also authorizing the payment of a claim for $50,000 for an extension as well. They provide all of our PT services, physical therapy services for our employees that are injured. And we currently have an RFP, but my team is reviewing some of the different specs with the RFP because we want to make some adjustments to the contract.
Questions?
Questions?
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Good afternoon, Council President and members of the City Council. My name is Brian Rands with the Division of Community Development, appearing on behalf of Director Deja Anderson. The first resolution is Agenda Item 1011, Resolution 24-788, a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City awarding $75,000 of Community Development Block Grant CV funding and approving the execution of a subrecipient agreement with Palisades Emergency Residence Corporation for Shelter Overflow Program. As you all know, CDBG CV funding is used to meet the needs of low and moderate income people to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. PERC is a Hudson County 501c3 nonprofit that offers emergency shelter to individuals and families for over 30 years in Hudson County. They're seeking $75,000 to help fund their overflow shelter, and DCD has evaluated the proposal and is recommending to Council to approve the award.
How many beds do they have, like for overflow or?
I don't exactly know how many beds they have, but it is a three-pronged strategy. First, they provide shelter during extreme winter temperatures, and that's coming up, so that's very important. The second is to provide additional shelter when their dormitory is full. I don't have those exact numbers, but before the hearing on Wednesday, we can provide that to your office.
Okay. Also, is this a new renewal or is it a new contract that we're?
This is a new contract. We've historically funded them, but we're using CD dollars just because our entitlement public service dollars is much smaller. And since a lot of residents of Hudson County are still experiencing the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, whether through credit checks on their rental history or inflation, we want to support this great community partner with additional funds during the wintertime.
Okay, that's all on my end. Thank you.
The second resolution is Agenda 1012, Resolution 24-789. It's a resolution of the Municipal Council awarding $152,609 of CDBG CV funding to Garden State Community Development Corporation to expand operations at the Hudson Casa Drop-In Center. Garden State administers the reentry program for Hudson County. So anyone who's homeless, they're usually directed there for coordinated reentry, where we can efficiently utilize all our federal and state resources to create good housing outcomes for our residents. And Garden State proposed expanding expanding hours during weekdays. And they also proposed providing weekend hours and holiday hours, which we think during the winter time, it's really important to provide those services to our residents. DCD has reviewed their application. It complies with all the rules, and we recommend this award. Okay, Agenda 1013, Resolution 24-790. It's a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to award $136,000 of community development block grant public facilities money from program year 2020 for a project at Margaret Ann Cusack Center. CDBGPF funds and helps support infrastructure and facility projects throughout the City of Jersey City. Margaret Ann Cusack Center is requesting PF dollars to remediate lead and make exterior repairs that will create a safer living environment for the seniors who reside there. They submitted a proposal. It's been reviewed by our underwriting committee. We recommend that council approves $136,000 for this project.
Councilman, you got to put your mic on. Thank you.
How does this amount of funds go unallocated from 21, 22, 23?
That's a really good question. And when it comes to CDBG funding, there's a long period of performance because, HUD understands that to get this money allocated and approved, there's a lot of steps that go into play. First, you have to do a risk assessment on all the proposals that come into our office. We do a competitive RFP. Second, thereafter, we have to do underwriting. We have to do compliance checks. That's Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirements, environmental reviews for NEPA. Then the subrecipient has to properly procure a contractor. And since they're receiving $136,000 under our rules, they're going to have to do a formal sealed bid process. So that took time. We wish it could be quicker and we have money to spend, but to ensure that HUD doesn't want to recoup this in the future, and usually that has to be paid with state and local dollars. Deja and our team is very diligent in making sure that we're complying with all the rules before we award the money.
And how long typically do we have to spend these allocated funds?
So it depends on the grant agreement. I don't want to misstate. I believe it's 9 years, but I can provide your office before Wednesday the period of performance for the 2020 grant. If you would.
Thank you.
Okay. And our last resolution is Agenda Item 1014, Resolution 24-791. It's a resolution of the Municipal Council to authorize program awards and contracts under the Community Services Block Grant, CSBG, for program year 2024. And this grant is administered through the state DCA as a pass-through entity from the Department of Health and Human Services and the federal government. And the state wants recipients of this money to target, anti-poverty measures to help uplift the people in our communities. Jersey City in February of this year issued an RFP to competitively solicit requests for grant funding from local partners in the community. After they went through underwriting and reviewing their program scopes, we have decided to make recommendations to council. We recommend all the awards that are listed. If you go to the second page of the resolution, you'll have each organization, what the project is, the amount of money that's being provided to these organizations. And as you can tell, it's a lot of organizations that provide senior services, youth services, food access services, employment services, things that benefit low and moderate income people in our community.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much, council. Have a great day.
Council President, members of the council, I have one remaining resolution. This is for the Division of Engineering under my department. It's agenda item 10.17, resolution 24-794. This is a resolution authorizing the execution of a notice in lieu of a deed notice agreement, which acknowledges use restrictions on the property between PSE&G and the city of Jersey City, and the soil remedial action permit regarding a portion of Carteret Avenue between Garfield and Pacific. So this is the PPG site on Carteret Avenue, right off of Garfield Avenue. And this resolution is to authorize a notice in lieu of a deed notice because of the contamination on the site and in the right of way. So this is standard practice. It's called an institutional control. Anytime that there is contamination in the right of way and a utility such as PSE&G may have to excavate around where the contamination is, this is the type of control that any municipality would put into place so that that party, in this case PSE&G, would be responsible for any permitting, any monitoring, any remedial activity that has to happen around the property because there is a cap and a liner in place to remediate the contamination that was on site. So it's just a standard agreement and legislation to put in place between the city and between PSE&G.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Joan? Joan?
Good evening, council. I'm here on behalf of Ofer Cohen, whose father passed away. I have resolution 10.8, item 10.8, resolution 24-785, a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the acceptance of additional grant funding from the County of Hudson Department of Health and Human Services Office on Aging. Every year they have more money at the end of the year and they just give it to us, and this will go into our senior meals programs. Okay.
Joan, do you have his first name?
What?
Do you have his first name, his dad's first
So
name?
I'll get it for you though.
Thank you. We'll remember him during the moment of silence.
Okay, thank you.
Music to my ears. All right, council members, on to our first reading ordinances. Item 3.1, City Ordinance 24-098 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to Emmanuel Goodrum and its successors and assigns to allow parking in a new concrete driveway partially within the public right-of-way adjacent to 309 Chapel Avenue, Block 27205, Lot 4. The attorney for the project is here. If there are any questions on this franchise ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, go ahead.
Hold on 1 second, Councilman. Just if you can identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Berardo of the firm Wells, Jaworski and Liebman on behalf of the applicant Emmanuel Goodrum.
Thank you, Jennifer. Go ahead, Councilman. Councilperson, sorry.
So
Denise,
for this one on Chapel Avenue, it's basically creating a driveway is what I'm understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why are we doing this or why are we entertaining this if we're no longer doing driveways in the city?
yes.
I can give a little bit of a historical background for the application. I think it may help the council. That's okay. So Mr. Goodrum had sought various ways in which to be able to utilize his home. He suffers from various health concerns, part of them which required the amputation of several of his toes. He has a multitude of health concerns which require an ambulance to come to his home several times a week, and he is unable to walk long distances. So we had submitted an application to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and we had received approval in order to locate the driveway in the front of the home to provide an appropriate accommodation under the Fair Housing Act as well as the Americans with Disability Act. It's also supported by the case law here. Mr. Goodrum had previously sought to just have a permit to park in the front of his home, but that was not an appropriate accommodation, unfortunately, because during street cleaning or snow removal, he would not be able to park. So the Zoning Board of Adjustment found that the applicant had met its burden of proof to allow the variance, which included parking within the front, as well as a reduction in the landscaped area that was required in the front. And so part of that resolution included a condition that we come before the council to seek this franchise ordinance to allow Mr. Goodrum to have this reasonable accommodation in order to continue to reside in his home.
So how does he, I guess, get out the home now and get to visits? Because I don't see a ramp or a chairlift or anything there now. And I'm sure he didn't just get into his current condition, correct?
No. So he can walk. He just cannot walk long distances. So as we know, the parking, it can be very difficult. And if he would have had to park a block away, 2 blocks away, he wouldn't be able to do that. If a car was parked in front of his home, when an ambulance came, the ambulance would have to double park on the road, would prevent another car from passing. So this was the best alternative to allow the parking.
And you said you went to zoning
Yes.
and
we
they
have,
thought this was a good idea.
Yes, I have also with me, in case the council needs, a copy of the Zoning Board of Adjustment Resolution of Approval.
Okay, so see, here's my issue.
Go ahead, Denise.
Like totally sympathize with his situation, but I can make that case for 100 other people in the ward who have been asking for driveways. So if we're going to allow this, which I'm not saying he shouldn't be allowed, but if I'm going to allow this, then I should be allowing everybody else that made a driveway request.
May also add one other thing. So the zoning board understood the importance of the zoning in place and the desire for the city to create more of a landscaped area in the front, even though the majority of the homes along this street have parking within the front. So as another condition of approval, the applicant had or will have to file a deed restriction. And that will require that should Mr. Goodrum no longer reside at the property or sell the home, he will have to revert the driveway area to whatever is the conforming requirements of the council at that time.
Right, and then additionally, this is saying that his car is going to interrupt with the public right of way, which most of the driveways on this block do. And legally, we should be ticketing them. So whenever a parking authority gets the urge, or when somebody makes a request and says they can't walk down the street because these cars are blocking, parking authority is going to come through and ticket everybody. And his ticket is going to be dismissed while everyone else is going to eat that ticket.
I mean, there is a sufficient space behind his vehicle where the path and the walkway is. I believe there's a separation of over 5 feet or so. So it would still allow someone, even someone with a disability in a wheelchair, to pass through safely. I know that there are signs located in the front of the property right now, which will have to be removed or relocated. And I believe that relates, one, to the handicap parking permit space that he had originally obtained, as well as parking on this side of the street during whatever period of time. So those will have to be relocated, but once that is accomplished, there is proper and safe access to the sidewalk.
Okay, you answered all my questions.
I just think, I mean, I'm extremely sympathetic towards anyone who have incapacities, but the reality is that I've witnessed people come in with medical conditions that are as severe or even more severe than Mr. Goodrum. And we just haven't been able to accommodate those individuals. That being left alone, the major issue is that this house has been sold according to the county and the state deeds on October 7th to a Spencer Adrian.
That I was not aware of. It could be, I know that he has some help from his children or family members, so it could potentially be that. I did speak with him last week and he's still residing in the home.
But the home is no longer in his name, according to the state and the county records. And it was just sold on October 7th of this month. We're still in October.
I can certainly find out some additional information for the council regarding that. And I suppose if Mr. Goodrum's no longer residing at the property, then this issue is now moot. However, if he's still residing in the property, transferred it in the name of one of his family members or someone who was taking care of him, then the purpose of the deed restriction would still be in force and in effect.
Yes, so he wouldn't need it. So quick question, how long have he had this issue that he's been dealing with?
His medical history?
Yes.
For a very long time, it's just gotten progressively worse within the last couple of years. And what happened is this matter has actually been pending for several years now before we went to the council, and he had a severe health issue and was in a rehabilitation facility for a year. And during that period, he had engaged a contractor to obtain the appropriate permits and do the work. So that way he could have a driveway in the front. That was not done properly. He had obtained violations, and that's when we stepped in to help him get the appropriate zoning relief that he required.
I mean, this is just too much uncertainties for me. If he's in that much of a need, then maybe someone should be assisting him as he travel, where he needs to go. But the bigger issue is that the deed have, and it's not a regular transfer because the amount is too high. Oh, no, it probably is a regular transfer because it looks like a dollar. Do you know Adrian, Spencer?
I do not.
Okay.
I was gonna say, is the deed restriction a part of this ordinance or?
It's part of the resolution of approval, which is a condition as well as obtaining the council's permission. So assuming that we obtain the council's permission, we will file the deed restriction, which has already been approved in form by planning, I believe.
And why didn't he apply for like handicap parking in front of the house?
He did,
So he has one.
and he had obtained that. However, it was not an appropriate accommodation, unfortunately, because of the street cleaning and the snow removal and the ambulances coming there multiple times per week.
So he would ultimately foot the bill for creating this driveway and then, God forbid, whenever, he passes, it would revert back, or whenever it's transferred, let's say, to another person. Like, let's say he moves out of the area. I don't know why he transferred the property to someone. There could be myriad of reasons, but if he was to move from that location, it would be reverted back.
Yep, that would show up in title, so it would be a requirement to close.
Yes, I know.
And to help the council also feel more comfortable, this precise situation occurred in this Joanne Gifford versus City of Jersey City, and the court found exactly in the same way, is that we need to provide an accommodation for those that have disabilities. And this is an appropriate and a reasonable accommodation to allow someone to continue to live in their home with a disability.
I
I want to make a statement. I think the city of Jersey City has a lot of disabled, people, lots of it. And I think that entertaining something like this, the lines are going to be around City Hall for people wanting to have this done. And it is, what do we tell those constituents that can't afford an attorney, right? What do we do there? I mean, I think that it is unfair to those people that can't afford an attorney. I would, this is a caucus meeting. I'm telling you right now, I'm voting no on this. I could not entertain this. It's going to be difficult for someone. It's going to be difficult. The lines will be around the corner.
I can fully appreciate that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct or proper. I mean, Mr. Goodrum has went through the appropriate channels here. He sought the relief from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and any applicant similar to any resident of the city would have to come before the appropriate boards and to prove. He didn't just come in and say, oh, I have 2 toes and I can't walk. He presented testimony at the hearing to discuss his physical disabilities. And
I totally
We agree.
understand that, but
Right.
without breaking HIPAA, and I don't want any information from him, but we have amputees disabled, and they do not have the luxury that I want you to understand, and what I'm trying to highlight. Not everybody has the opportunity to have an attorney. We understand that, there's ordinances and whatever the zoning board approved, but we as a board have a responsibility to the rest of the constituency that is in the same boat as your client, but he has an attorney.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask what the,
What is
I
legal,
was-
legal?
yeah, I was gonna,
So they,
or
zoning board put it on us. That's what happened.
what's
That's what they
the,
did.
I understand. I'm asking what's the legal exposure we have? And is there precedent legal? I mean, she cited a case, Jennifer cited a case. But I just want to know what
It's the same standard for any municipal action, which is arbitrary, unreasonable, or capricious.
okay.
So, since Chapel is in Ward A, I'll say this. I know I get a lot of requests from my residents for driveways, and even on this block, I've received some requests. I think Mr. Goodrum did what he was supposed to do, right? Because he's trying to get his driveway. I don't think he's doing anything wrong, but it causes a bigger problem for the city, and I don't think it's necessarily fair to other residents throughout the city. So, it's on the agenda, and I will move forward on Wednesday and vote, but I don't see this going too favorably.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Next, Sean.
Oh, you have some further you want to add?
I couldn't tell who was,
Oh,
sorry.
oh, no, that was it.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that was it.
I just was hoping if there's any way that I can impart to this council the importance of having a reasonable accommodation. It's not just for zoning purposes. This is the Fair Housing Act as well as the American Disability Act. This is a very serious and important provision that is governed by the state to be enforced, and to further provide you with some maybe comfort. I know that many people may be asking for this, but if I recall correctly, 70% of the homes located along this street have driveways in the front of their home. The zoning in this area also supports that for new development and new construction, there be a parking space located in the front of the home with a driveway. And that's clearly to anticipate that there are some parking concerns in the city that the city is trying to address. This is not something, maybe it does come before you all of the time, but this is someone who's followed the appropriate channels, and it's a single request. And if somebody else comes forward and has this, they would have to prove it too. So I just would respectfully request a favorable vote. If there's additional information that the council may need regarding this, I'm happy to provide it. I appreciate your time. And thank you very much.
Hey, John, I guess the bigger question internally is, how does this make it here? Like, we couldn't even get on a zoning schedule with some people.
I'm not sure when they appeared in front of the zoning board, but for franchise ordinances, the applicant is always allowed to present to the council. We've had ones, remember, with the window overhang.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So, we've had several of these that have gone different ways. I just say to the council, it's the petitioner that has the right to facilitate it to the council, and then the council has to take action as they see.
So, John, quick question. What happens if the parking space didn't infringe upon the public's right of way? Because this essentially what they're, because it's infringing, the driveway is partially within the public's right of way. What happened if they would have had enough room and it wasn't? No, I know, we're done with her. I'm just saying, like, for the,
I believe that if it was recessed enough, it would be part of the
regular just application.
existing application.
Okay, that's what I was, okay.
Through zoning.
All right.
The undisclosed time period.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Very much. Have a lovely evening.
You too. Hey, Sean.
Okay. I'm scared to read the next one. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 24-099 is an ordinance granting a temporary easement to New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection in connection with Rebuild by Design Hudson River project consisting of work for stormwater separation, utility relocation, pile driving, sheet piling, and installation of hard structures such as flood walls and deployable gates at various locations on Jersey Avenue, Grove Street, Marin Boulevard, and 18th Street.
Just, do we have, or can we get a sort of agreement on construction hours and impacts on the neighborhood?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
to make sure we're not, 7 a.m., weekend hours, 7 p.m., all that kind of stuff.
And we'll make sure that that's described on the actual DEP permit.
Right.
Infrastructure is actually providing them, so we'll make sure that you have your feedback on that prior.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, on to our second reading ordinances. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 24-087 is an ordinance amending Chapter 188 to establish a local preference for affordable housing units created by local regulations and requirement. There has been, there's going to be an amendment to this ordinance. The amendment is highlighted in red, and I believe they're not substantial, and I will ask the Corporation Council on the record on Wednesday if they are substantial, which I believe they're not. And then I believe we can move forward. So we'll hold a public hearing, then we'll need a motion to amend, and then I'll ask the Corporation Council at that time whether the amendment is substantial or not. Okay. Next, item 4.2, City Ordinance 24-089 is an ordinance authorizing the City of Jersey City as a tenant to extend for a 2-year lease with 18 Ash Street Realty as a landlord for space located at 46 State Street in Jersey City. Item 4.3 was touched on earlier. Item 4.4, City Ordinance 24-092 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-5, one-way streets to convert 12th Street between Monmouth Street and Cole Street into a one-way street eastbound direction. Item 4.5, City Ordinance 24-9093 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-9, stop intersections to designate the intersection of Clinton Avenue and Sackett Street as a multi-way stop-controlled intersection. Item 4.6, City Ordinance 24-094 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-9, stop intersections to designate various downtown intersections as multi-way stop-controlled intersections. Item 4.7, City Ordinance 24-095 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-24.1, limited duration parking for 15-minute parking zones near Malley and Roosevelt Avenue. Item 4.8, City Ordinance 24-096 is an ordinance of the City of Jersey City Municipal Council adopted revised and updated fees for Chapter 345, the Land Development Ordinance, related to zoning review applications and some applications for the planning and zoning boards. And last but not least, item 4.9, City Ordinance 24-097 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to Jasco Management Corp. for a 5-foot, 5.5-inch by 23-foot, 5.5-inch ramp encroachment at Lot 20 in Block 20004, also known as 307 Pacific Avenue, into the right-of-way. This is for the library. Next, we'll have our public request for hearing. We have 31 speakers. And then on to our petitions and communications. Any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.39? Hearing none, any questions or comments on office communications 7.1 through 7.10? Any questions or comments on report of directors 8.1? I can't hear you, Councilman.
Sean, how many judges are we appointing up to the municipal court? Seems like every week.
So this appointment is to fill a vacancy that we have, the list of judges. This is a part-time vacancy that we have on our list. I can get you the list of judges. I'll email it to the entire council.
Yeah, would you, George? George.
Sure.
Sean,
I know who you meant. My father was named George, too.
thinking of George.
No problem.
Thank you, Sean.
You got it.
Keep on.
Next we have our claims and on to our resolutions. I'm going to have the BA speak for a second.
Councilman, this is just, not just, but this is to replace Judge McCaffrey, who passed away last year or early this year. So there was a vacancy and then this is the backfill on it, but we'll get you the full roster from George.
John, didn't we just appoint a couple of judges in the past month or so?
We appointed one judge, and I believe that was Peter Baker's wife, if I'm not mistaken.
Megan.
Megan. I couldn't think of her name. I'm sorry.
Appointed her.
Call her George.
George, Megan, okay. Next, item 10.1, City Resolution 24-778 is a resolution recognizing October as Filipino American History Month. Item 10.2, Resolution 24-779 is a resolution honoring St. John's Baptist Church for the 95th anniversary and mortgage burning. Okay. Next, item 10.3, City Resolution 24-780 is a resolution honoring, and I'm going to let Councilperson Rivera say what this is. Come on. There we go. Park Education Alliance for its dedication efforts to honor and educate public about Puerto Rico's 65th Infantry Regiment and their heroic deeds during the Korean conflict. 10.4 was touched on earlier. Item 10.5, Resolution 24-782 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City in support of the Jersey City Free Public Library Board of Trustees action not to restrict access to the library's collection. Items 10.6 through 10.21 were touched on earlier. Item 10.22 is a resolution that Councilperson Baggiano was inquiring about with George. Resolution 24-799 is a resolution appointing Mikhail Seraphim as a part-time judge of the Jersey City Municipal Court. Item 10.23, Resolution 24-800 is a resolution authorizing the execution and ratification of an access agreement regarding the entrance onto 303 Central Avenue for a construction project at the Jersey City Public Library Heights branch.
Sean, I can talk about that and the remaining.
Sure.
So,
I would appreciate it.
sure. This is just, we're doing crane work at the Heights branch library and it goes over the Bank of America next door. This is just an agreement so they can do that crane work to fix the HVAC and chimney. So it's just for a limited duration for them to do the work. And then for 1024, this is a payment of a claim for work completed. We are not renewing the contract, so we're just paying him for work that was completed on these matters and taking the matters back in-house. For 1025 and 1026, this is a matter that has been ongoing for the last several years. We continue to have outside counsel due to conflicts. Hopefully, we're moving towards motion practice in the next few months, and it's going to continue, but hopefully it can come closer to an end for 1025 and 1026. And then for 1027 and 1028, we're awarding a contract to a new law firm that responded to an RFQ this year. It's a minority, veteran, and woman-owned business. So handing off some cases for her to handle.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none.
Motion.
May I have a motion to adjourn at 4:51 PM? And I heard the motion by Councilperson Saleh. May I have a second? Made the second. That was Councilperson Rivera. On the motion to adjourn at 4:51 PM, all council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
What's that? I'm not going to say anything. We are out of here at 4:51 PM. Thank you so much, everyone everybody that came in person and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work, and the Jets have the same record as the Giants. Have a good night.